You've done
We're
it.
streaming live. Hello, everyone. This is Dr. Roger Paul, and this morning we're going to continue our study of paper 120, the bestowals of Michael. This is the charges that Emmanuel gave Jesus before he came down for his seventh bestowal. So we're in the second section, and that's on page 1327 of the original book, or paper 122.1. So if you're watching along with us, you see it there. I just saw my old picture on Facebook. It looked like my brother. All the beard and everything. I don't see myself like that anymore.
You can see
Okay,
that
so let's have a little
dark-haired woman that you're with at times. Oh, I'm sorry, didn't mean to mention it, Diane.
dark hair.
She's muted. I'm glad.
Okay, let's get started here. Say a little prayer and we'll get started. Father, thank you for bringing us together this morning. Pray that you'll open our hearts and minds that we might remember a little bit of this so we can share it with others. Help us to grow spiritually, help us to grow mentally, that we can share with one another, help one another, and do your will in our lives. We say this in the name of your son, Michael, Jesus of Nazareth. Amen.
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 Okay. Diane, you want to start out? You want to unmute?
2. The bestowal limitations. In accordance with the usages and conformity with the technique of Sorenton, in compliance with the mandates of the eternal Son of Paradise, I have provided in every way for your immediate entrance upon this mortal bestowal, in harmony with the plans formulated by you and placed in my keeping by Gabriel. You will grow up on Urantia as a child of the realm, complete your human education, all the while subject to the will of your paradise Father. Live your life on Urantia as you have determined, terminate your planetary sojourn, and prepare for ascension to your Father, to receive from him the supreme sovereignty of your universe.
Okay, so this is the charges that Emmanuel is giving to Jesus before he left. Oh, actually, he was still Michael. Yeah, before he left for the final bestowal. And he has done this 6 times before he went on previous bestowals. But these charges are a little different because he's actually going to become immortal this time. And notice here it says, in accordance to the usages and conformity of the technique of Sorenton. Do y'all know what that is? This is the standards that the eternal Son has set up for the creator sons. Okay, so they have certain standards they have to do, and that includes doing the 7 bestowals. So according to the standards of the eternal Son, they have to go by this process in which he's fixing to go in the very last part of that. Okay, and that's what they're talking about here. So this technique of Sorenton is the bestowal technique for all 700,000 creator sons. So see how if you know what they're talking about, it makes a little bit different in the paragraph. Okay. The other thing they're saying here is he says he is getting his power while he's gone from Gabriel. It says the universe is placed in his keeping by Gabriel, who is the chief executive of the local universe, right? All right. And then he goes on to say, you will grow up on Urantia like a normal human being, according to the will of the Paradise Father on this one, right? On the other ones, he was doing the will of different combinations of the Trinity. So this one, he's doing just the will of the Paradise Father. And that's why you'll hear him say many times during this sojourn on Urantia, if it be the will of my Father. So everything he did during his bestowal was according to the will of God the Father. And you'll notice here it says in the very last sentence, he says, as you have determined, terminate your planetary sojourn. So Jesus had the right to terminate this last bestowal at any point he chose. You understand that? So when he went to the cross, he did that according to his own choice. He did not have to do that. He chose to do that, to drink the cup in full, to become a human being just like everyone else. All right. And then after it's all over, he's saying, then you will be returned and be granted your supreme sovereignty of your universe by the universal Father. Okay. So that's what this is talking about this morning. Good.
You know, I just
paragraph.
observed something, if
Yes.
I may. He
Gary,
had the right to terminate the thing before him. And in the Garden of
That's correct.
Gethsemane, he said that,
Not
Father,
my will,
lift
but
this
your
cup,
will.
huh?
Yes.
Lift this
Yes.
cup
Not my
for
will.
you. Well,
That's
you know, why do I have to go through this? But
yeah.
it tells you a couple things. Number one, if you're trying to read, understand, if he had the will to terminate it, he didn't. And now why wouldn't he? Because no one wants to go through that. But
No.
if his love for us, so that he would just experience this hard thing, just so he would complete all things possible on earth. So he, that's a lot of love. That just, that's beyond the scope. And now number two, he didn't have the love, but he said he would, if the Father would remove it from him, it'd be fine. So that would be also, so he's not going to take advantage of messing up this joyful pain. And then he's going to submit himself completely to God the Father out of love and respect for his position, etc. So that is a lot of love, people.
It is. It's beyond understanding, really. And it was interesting too that he said, when what you're talking about, he said, not my will, but your will be done. Right. So in other words, if it was his will, he would have go ahead and terminated his bestowal, just him. But it was God's will that he finish his bestowal in completeness. And the only way he could finish the bestowal in completement is experience death like every other human being. Yeah, just like every other creator son has done. Yeah, dying on the cross. There's many people dying on the cross during that period of time. So basically he's saying, not my will, but your will be done. So it was God's will that he finish his bestowal and drink the cup of death like every other human being. But the way he died was not necessary. You see what I'm saying? So it kind of seems like a contradiction, but it's not at all. Because it was God the Father's will that he finish his bestowal like all other 699 bestowal sons. But it was not God's will that he die such a horrible death. That's what we need to understand. Nothing about his death, the way he died, was God's will. None of it. It was God's will that he finish his life and die a normal life as a human being, but not the fact that he should be tortured on the cross like he was, right, and beat in front of people and that sort of thing. So, it's kind of funny if you ever watch the movie, Mel Gibson's movie, The Passion of the Christ, they portray it in the horribleness that it really was.
Jesus of Nazareth did the same thing.
Yeah, Jesus of Nazareth did the same thing. But the fact is, God did not ordain that to happen like that. It was the will of God that Jesus finish his mortal life and die like everyone else, but not the horribleness of the reason Jesus died on the cross was he was murdered by cruel, evil men. That's what it boiled down to. Okay, that's the difference. Okay. And it's hard for Christians to understand that, because they've got this concept that Jesus died for their sins, and we know that's not true. No, God never required sacrifice for sins. So the reason he died is he was finishing his bestowal to claim the sovereignty of his local universe that he created. So, all right, let's see. You get a nice long one.
Yeah. Okay.
All right, would you take the
Okay.
next one?
Apart from your Earth mission and your universe revelation, but incidental to both, I counsel that you assume, after you are sufficiently self-conscious of your divine identity, the additional task of technically terminating the Lucifer rebellion in the system of Satania, and that you do all this as the Son of Man. Thus, as a mortal creature of the realm in weakness, made powerful by faith's submission to the will of your Father, I suggest that you graciously achieve all you have repeatedly declined arbitrarily to accomplish by power and might when you were so endowed at the time of the inception of this sinful and unjustified rebellion. I would regard it as a fitting climax of your mortal bestowal if you should return to us as the Son of Man, planetary prince of Urantia, as well as the Son of God, supreme sovereign of your universe. As a mortal man, the lowest type of intelligent creature in Nebadon, meet and adjudicate to the blasphemous pretensions of Caligastia and Lucifer, and, in your assumed humble estate, forever end the shameful misrepresentations of these fallen children of light. Having steadfastly declined to discredit these rebels through the exercise of your creator prerogatives, now it would be fitting that you should, in the likeness of the lowest creatures of your creation, wrest dominion from the hands of these fallen sons. And so would your whole local universe, in all fairness, clearly and forever recognize the justice of your doing in the role of mortal flesh those things which mercy admonished you not to do by the power of arbitrary authority. And having thus, by your bestowal, established the possibility of the sovereignty of the Supreme in Nebadon, you will in effect have brought to a close the unadjudicated affairs of all preceding insurrections, notwithstanding the greater or lesser time lag involved in the realization of this achievement. By this act, the pending dissensions of your universe will be in substance liquidated, and with the subsequent endowment of supreme sovereignty over your universe, similar challenges to your authority can never recur in any part of your great personal creation. Wow, that says a lot.
Okay, it says a lot. This paragraph, we could spend the rest of the day just on this paragraph. So would y'all like me to explain all of this sentence by sentence so that you understand it completely?
Yeah, why not?
Huh? Yep. Why not? I mean, it'll take some time to go through it all, so that's why I ask. Okay. Let's start at the top and work our way down, because there is so much in this paragraph. All right, so let's start with the first sentence here, and he talks about that he canceled. Now remember, this is still Immanuel talking to Jesus and what he's going to do on this bestowal, okay? And by doing this, he says he would like him to terminate the Lucifer rebellion, okay? Right here in this very first sentence in our system of Satania, and do this as the Son of Man. In other words, do this as a mortal creature of the realm, not as Michael. Okay, so and Gary's brought this up many times. You know, when he was on Mount Hermon, and wrestled with Caligasta and Lucifer and that sort of thing. He did this all as the Son of Man. He did not do this as Michael, right? He probably had his consciousness of Michael, but he limited himself to do everything as a man, a son of man. In other words, the son of Joseph, but Joseph, his father. Okay. And he's doing this as the lowest type of human being that he could be. Okay. So he's not coming in power and glory and saying, I am the sovereign of this universe. I can have you destroyed in the blink of an eye. He's going in and says, I am the Son of Man. I represent God the Father. What you've done is evil and terrible, and I will let the ancients of days judge you. Basically, is what he's saying. Okay, instead of himself. And he does this because of why? Mercy. Okay, he's humble. He's a merciful creature. All right. And then he goes on to say, it says, it would be fitting that you should, in the likeness of the lowest creature of creation. We are the lowest type of creature that Jesus created, human beings. Okay, so he came down to the lowest creature he could, all right, and he has wrestled his dominion, in other words, all his rights from Caligasta and Satan and Lucifer as a human being. Now, why does Immanuel think this is important? Because Immanuel knows that every single day of our lives, what do? We do the same thing. We wrestle with these evil forces over and over and over, and it's only by our faith can we wrestle dominion over these things. That's all we have. So Jesus did the same thing. He wrestled with these beings that he had created, these powerful beings, himself as a human being, right? And that way, when everything is finally adjudicated, they have no excuse to come back and say, well, you were the Son of God. You just took over power. He didn't do that, did he? He said, I am a son of man, and I am taking back in charge of my planet. And that's what they're talking about here when Immanuel is saying, he was trying to take back the sovereignty of the supreme in Nebadon. Okay, by going through this process, Jesus is giving his experience to the supreme, okay, in our local universe. And by doing this as a man, that experience as a man goes into the supreme, just as if we did it ourselves. Okay, so that's why this is so important. All right. And then he goes on to say that he wants him to, he also wants him to take back the planetary prince of Urantia. So when Jesus was declared planetary prince of Urantia, he did so as a human, not as Michael. Why is this important? Because he is doing the job that the planetary prince was supposed to do. Okay, so by wrestling with this and becoming the planetary prince of Urantia, he's not only the Son of God, he's not only the creator of our local universe, but he's a man assuming control of our planet. Make sense? All right. And then at the end of this, he says the act of pending dissensions of your universe will be substance liquidated. In other words, as he does this, it will wipe out any possibility of any other being in the past or the future rebelling against the supremacy of Michael as the ruler of our local universe, right? And at that point, nobody else can challenge his authority in this local universe throughout time. So when he finished his final bestowal, he not only was declared the sovereign of the universe, he was declared the sovereign of this local universe throughout all eternity. doesn't stop, right? Makes sense?
Yeah.
So that's a
Right.
lengthy,
Roger,
lengthy, yes.
to me personally, it shows the humor of our Heavenly Father.
It
To me,
does.
It's humorous.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it does. You know, I mean, any way you look at it, you know, God the Father and the Eternal Son set up this process for a reason, right? So that throughout all eternity, as the 700,000 creator sons finish this process, they have proved not only the right of sovereignty to their local universe, but they have proved that they are willing to go through every part of everything they created personally themselves. Okay. So no creature of any type can come along and say, well, you are God, you haven't experienced this, because they all have, every single one of them. Okay. So it's pretty important any way you look at it. All right, let me advance this. Gary, I'm gonna have you take the next one here so that I get this advanced.
Talking to me?
Okay. Yep. Unless there's another
When-
Gary out there.
Mm.
No, when
Okay,
you
well,
have
you'll have to do it
seceded,
then.
okay, excuse me. Ready?
Go ahead. Yep.
When you have succeeded in terminating the Urantia secession, as you undoubtedly will, I counsel you to accept from Gabriel the conference of the title of Planetary Prince of Urantia as the eternal recognition by your universe of your final bestowal experience, and that you further do any and all things consistent with the purport of your bestowal, to atone for the sorrow and confusion brought upon Urantia by the Kaligaska betrayal and the subsequent Adamic default.
Okay. Let me go through a couple things here too. Let me stop the share for a second. Okay. So once he finished this, he wanted Gabriel to and put the title of him Planetary Prince of Urantia in the recognition of this final bestowal. And it's something we need to understand about this is this. As planetary prince, he will always be considered planetary prince of Urantia because of his conquering all things evil on this planet. Okay. So when he assigned Machiaventia Melchizedek as the planetary prince, he became the planetary prince vicegerent. Do y'all understand what that means? In other words,
Yes.
Melchizedek is the planetary prince in lieu of Jesus because he can't be here all the time. So when he assigned the planetary princehood to Melchizedek, he did it and say, here, I can't be here, so you take over for me. I will retain the title, but you will act in my stead. Does that make sense? All right, so that's why this is very important. And it says right here, Gabriel understood how much of a mess this world was in because of two things, right? The Kaligaska betrayal by joining Lucifer and the Adamic default. Now, we need to understand that Adam did not rebel, did he? Neither did Eve, neither one. What they did is they defaulted on their mission. There's a difference. They never were judged of rebellion. If they would have been judged as a rebellion, they would have had to been adjudicated just like we are if we rebel against God. Okay, they were charged with a default, and that's what they accepted, and so they went into rehabilitation. There's a big difference, but it still left the planet in a mess beyond belief, didn't it? Okay, so that's why it's important we understand these things. I don't know what I did there, but I made everybody super big here. I think I just advanced. Let me take us back down here. Whoa. Y'all give me a second. Here we go. Now I lost everybody.
I'm here.
Let me stop the share for a second. There we are. Okay, we're back here. The computer just went crazy. Well, it did it again. Hang on, y'all. Give me a second. Hello to everybody. There we go. Y'all, I messed up my screen here terribly, but I'm just going to have to wing it. Can you see this slide on your screen there?
Yes.
Okay, full thing.
Yeah.
Okay.
We see everything normally.
Yeah, I
Do
can see
you,
it.
do you see everybody's? Can you see everybody's picture?
Yeah,
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
nothing changed.
Okay. Okay, let me go back here for just a second. Let me do this. Here we go. Well, now I messed myself up. Y'all just bear with me. It's going crazy here. My Zoom meeting is that's better. Okay, I still don't have everybody's pictures. But as long as you can see when someone's talking, does it show their face?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Me? Okay, that's all. I don't need to see everybody. I'll just have to remember. Y'all help me. Who needs to read next? You do? Okay, well, Pam was there. Did Pam read? Yeah, Pam didn't read yet. Let's have Pam read.
Okay.
Go ahead, Pam.
In accordance with your request, Gabriel and all concerned will cooperate with you in the express desire to end your Urantia bestowal with the pronouncement of a dispensational judgment of the realm, accompanied by the termination of an age, the resurrection of the sleeping mortal survivors, and the establishment of the dispensation of the bestowed spirit of truth.
Okay.
Ah,
So what Jesus requested, or Michael requested, that at the end of his bestowal, they do a termination of the age, just like they did a termination of the age when Melchizedek was taken back, 900 and something years before this. That's when Melchizedek was there. He was trying to keep the concept of God alive. And at the end, when he went back, they had a close of that dispensation and the opening of a new dispensation, which would be the one that Jesus lived in during that period of time. What are they talking about? They mean it's talking about all the sleepings, all those that passed on and did not immediately go on to the mansion world were resurrected on the mansion world at that time, that dispensation. So Jesus requested at the end of his, when he bestows the spirit of truth, all those sleeping survivors would be awoken on the mansion worlds at that time. And that's exactly what happened. It's a judgment of the realm. And normally who does these? Normally a magisterial son, right? Comes in and judges the world and takes all those sleeping survivors onto the mansion world. On this case, though, there was the bestowal of the spirit of truth Okay, and that was at Pentecost. So that's very, very important that we understand that's what happened. So since then, we have probably had another dispensation that's been adjudicated since then. Every 1,000 years or a couple thousand years, they have one of these. So that's probably already happened and we didn't even know it. Okay, another dispensation. Now, an interesting point is this. As much of a mess that this physical planet is right now, with our governments and everything else, there may be some major thing that happens in the next few hundred years that causes another dispensation to be adjudged, right? So we just don't know. All right. Let's see, you're up now, dear, I believe. Let me mute first.
5. As concerns the planet of your bestowal and the immediate generation of men living thereon at the time of your mortal sojourn, I counsel you to function largely in the role of a teacher. Give attention first to the liberation and inspiration of man's spiritual nature. Next, eliminate the darkened human intellect, heal the souls of men, and emancipate their minds from age-old fears. And then, in accordance with your mortal wisdom, minister to the physical well-being and material comfort of your brothers in the flesh. Live the ideal religious life for the inspiration and edification of all your universe.
Amen and amen on that one, right?
Hmm.
Okay, let's look at this closely, okay? It's talking about he's talking about the planet that he's doing this bestowal on, which is ours, right? And he gives this advice to Jesus as a teacher, okay? And I like to take this particular paragraph and use it as a example of what we need to do individually, okay? Because look at what he's saying here. First, liberate and inspire man's spiritual nature. This is our job daily, is it not? That's why we do these meetings. That's why we all come together and share with each other, isn't it? We liberate our inspiration and our spiritual nature as much as we possibly can. We're doing it 3 times a week because that's all the time we have to do it, but because we have to live in between, right? And then what's the next thing we do with each other? We eliminate our darkened human intellect, do we not? Think of it this way. This revelation is an illumination of the universe, the cosmos, the way things really are to each and every one of us every day. Okay, so we get rid of all those myths and things that we've been taught to believe that are not true. Okay, and that's why that's why I'm considered a heretic, because I don't pull any punches on anything. And when I start talking about that God the Father forgives sin and no sacrifice is necessary, this is what we're talking about. We're liberating man's spiritual nature to stop believing in myths. God is not like that. God is merciful and he forgives you of your sin. Okay, so we're liberating and inspiring man's spiritual nature. Okay, the next thing it talks about is illuminating the darkened human intellect and heal the souls of men. How do we do that? We do that daily by giving them light in their life. Okay, by illuminating these things that aren't true, we free men from these bondages that's been put upon us. That's why Jesus said the priesthood was no longer necessary. Okay, because he liberated us from the bondage of other human beings telling us how we should live and what we should do, because we have a thought adjuster within our own self that is there to do that for us. We don't need men to do that. Okay, that's part of this illumination and healing the souls of men and emancipating them from age-old fears. What was the first number one age-old fear? The fear of God, was it not?
Mhm.
Hmm.
Why do you think people started sacrificing each other, killing each other, and eating each other? It's because they were fearing God, because they'd been taught that. Someone taught them that. And it's still going on today, if you think
Yes.
about it. When you go to these churches and they tell you that you have sinned and God's going to damn you forever and send you to hell, that's fear. It's
That's right.
fear-based religion. You don't need fear-based religion. You need love-based religion. Okay, because God loves you. You have nothing to fear of him. All right. The next thing he said is to minister to physical well-being and material comfort of your brothers and your sisters. So what does that mean? It means we're supposed to help heal the sick and make sure that everyone has food, is fed, and their mortal needs is taken care of. Okay. How do we do that? We have good medicine. We share, right? We do things like, at this point, I'm going to get back on Dr. Greer again. Here I go again. We should have free energy throughout the whole planet. Every human being on this planet, we could feed everybody easily if we had free energy. We have to take these things away from those who control it and give it back to the people like it should have been 100 years ago. Okay. So this is part of this ministering to the physical well-being and the material comfort of your brothers in the flesh. Okay. And what's the last sentence here? Live the ideal religious life for inspiration and edification for all your universe, which he did, didn't he? But that it doesn't stop there. He's giving us ideas to do the same exact thing. Why do you think they retell Jesus's life like they did? So that we could be inspired and do the same exact life. You can live a ideal religious life without being pompous, right? You don't have to say you can't do that, you can't do that, that sort of thing, right? All right, so you can live the ideal religious life on your own. You have the right to do that. Jesus gives you the right to do that. Okay, not controlled by someone else. Okay, who's next? I don't have the list anymore. Here, let me
Pam
stop
was
the share.
last.
So
I
let
think
me stop the share so I can see
Diane.
my list. Lech is next.
Oh,
Okay.
sorry,
Let me
Les.
share the screen again. Here, Lech.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. As concerns the planet of your bestowal and the immediate generation of men living thereon at the time of your mortal sojourn, I counsel
Oh,
you
that's the
to.
one we just, hang on, Lech, that's the one we just read.
Yeah, I thought so. Yeah.
I'm on the wrong, yeah, I'm on the wrong slide here. I'm probably hit it by
Yeah,
accident when I went back to it.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, that's it.
Oh, okay. On the planet of your bestowal, set rebellion segregated man spiritually free. On Urantia, make a further contribution to the sovereignty of the Supreme, thus extending the establishment of this sovereignty throughout the broad domains of your personal creation. In this, your material bestowal in the likeness of the flesh, you're about to experience the final enlightenment of a time-space creator, the dual experience of working within the nature of man with the will of your paradise Father. In your temporal life, the will of the finite creature and the will of the infinite creator are to become as one, even as they are also uniting in the evolving deity of the Supreme Being. Pour out upon the planet of your bestowal the spirit of truth, and thus make all normal mortals on that isolated sphere immediately and fully accessible to the ministry of the segregated presence of our Paradise Father, the thought adjusters of the realms.
Wow. It's kind of, it's another one of those huge paragraphs, isn't it?
Mhm.
Right. All right. So what was his charges for him to do? Set us spiritually free, which he did, didn't he? Okay. And in doing that, he contributes to the sovereignty of not only himself, but the sovereignty of the supreme as it's coming into fruition, right? And this is the case throughout all his domains of his personal creation. So all of the local universe, even for those worlds that haven't even been created yet. Okay.
Pattern just.
The pattern is right. Right. So he goes on to say that through this likeness of the flesh, he will experience a final enlightenment of a time-space creator. Now, why is this important? Because any experience after this local universe would be what? He would be experiencing an ultimate, right, creator, not just a time-space. So when you step into the outer space levels, if Jesus does something out there, he will be creating absolute beings, not finite beings anymore. So he finishes his final enlightenment as a time-space creator within the 7 super universes. So that's what they're talking about here. Okay. And he's also showing the dual experience of working with the nature of man and the will of the Paradise Father at the same time, showing us how we can do the same thing. We can work within the will of the Paradise Father and still have our mortal finite life. That's what they're telling us. Okay. And it goes on to say his temporal life as a finite creature will become entangled with the infinite creator as one, as experience for the deity of the supreme being. So the supreme being gains the finite experience, the human experience, if you will, plus the experience of the creator as a creator son at the same time. And then it tells him then at the end of all of this, you are to pour out on the planet the spirit of truth so that all human beings can have access to the thought adjuster. We know that after the spirit of truth is poured out on all flesh, every human being would receive the thought adjuster from there on out. Before that point, you had to literally make a moral decision and ask for this adjuster, not ask for the adjuster, but ask for guidance from heavenly forces to be given a thought adjuster. Okay. So from there on out, we get the benefit of the thought adjusters for everyone from that point forward. All
Roger,
right? Yeah.
it's almost as if a channel was opened up or created.
A permanent channel, right?
Circuit.
Yeah. For the thought adjusters from there on out. And don't forget that these thought adjusters come through whom? The local universe mother spirit. So it not only opens the channel for the thought adjuster, but it makes more clear the channel of the Holy Spirit, the local universe mother spirit, right? Okay. Let's see who's next. Let me stop the share again. Sorry, y'all. This is the only way I can see my list. Okay, Rodney, would you take the next one?
Sure.
Share the screen.
Okay, 7. In all that you may perform on the world of your bestowal, bear constantly in mind that you are living a life for the instruction and edification of all your universe. You are bestowing this life of mortal incarnation upon Urantia, but you are to live such a life for the spiritual inspiration of every human and superhuman intelligence that has lived, now exists, or may yet live on every inhabited world which is formed, now forms, or may yet form a part of the vast galaxy of your administrative domain. Your earth life in the likeness of mortal flesh shall not be so lived as to constitute an example for the mortals of Urantia in the days of your earthly sojourn, nor for any subsequent generation of human beings on Urantia or on any other world. Rather, shall your life in the flesh on Urantia be the inspiration for all lives upon all Nebadon worlds throughout all generations in the ages to come.
Okay, think of it this way. Let me stop the share so y'all can see me full screen again here. He's instructing him that he should live his life so that every being that will ever be created in the local universe of Nebadon will see a reproduction of this life forevermore. So every human being or every being that's ever created in our local universe will have the access to this life in the flesh as Jesus forevermore, so they can learn just like we as humans are learning about Jesus from his life on this planet. Why do you think that Jesus wanted to retell his story to people on this planet? Why did they do this book? Why would the Urantia book giving to us? Because they want to make it clear not only how the universe is set up, but what actually happened during the life of Jesus to stop this confusion that was created by just 4 books of the New Testament. Okay, so they're telling the whole story, what it means, why he did it, what's going to go on. And this goes on to every being in all his galaxy forevermore that will ever be created. So they will always have access to this information, every planet from now on. So think of it this way. As these new planets come online, what will they have to have? They'll have to have a revelation, just like we do. Okay. Now they may do it in a totally different way. They may have videos of him, everything he did for every single time from now on. We don't know, but they will retell it over and over and over again for every single type of being. Right? Let's see, Gary.
You know, Roger, I just discovered
Yes.
why Urantia was picked for the bestowal.
Why is that?
Nobody can usurp us either.
No.
Because we are the dumbest.
We're the lowest, dumbest on the block, right?
So, yep. So
Okay.
if we can get it, everybody else can.
Mhm.
It's that simple.
Well, Gary, why do you think they picked me to teach you? Because they
Well,
picked the
that's
lowest,
kinda
the dumbest
obvious.
on the block. You take the lowest one and rise them up, and they will learn to do the job, right? Why do you think Jesus picked normal people as his apostles, right? He picked very normal people as his apostles. And when God picked me to teach this book, I don't understand why. I don't know why. I don't try to figure it out anymore. I struggled with it when I first started doing it, think I'm not good enough to do this. I'm not smart enough to do this. My English is terrible. I have 3 doctorates, but it doesn't mean anything if you can't speak, right? That's what it, and I don't claim to be anything I'm not. That's just all there is to it. So when you take the dumbest or the lowest part of lowest person in your domain and say, why don't you teach this? It has to come from someplace else, because I sure as heck don't have it. You know what I'm saying? Only thing I can figure it is my thought adjuster helps me out a lot, and my guardian angels. That's all I can figure. But it gets the job done, and I'm willing to do the job. That is what we're saying here. You have to be willing to do the job, because it's easy to beg out and say, I'm too busy to do this. I got too many other things to do. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
So that's where we are. So Gary, I think you're up again.
Oh, you pick on the dumb one again, huh?
Ooh,
Uh-huh. Okay, rest
You're in good
assured, people,
company.
I've
You're in
got
real
this.
good company, Gary.
What's that?
I said you're in good company.
I've got this title
Uh,
locked. Okay.
we need to change the slide.
Okay. In all that you may perform on the world of your bestowal, be constantly in mind that you are living a life of the instruction and edification of your universe. You are bestowing this life of mortal incarnation upon Urantia, but you are to live this such a life for the spiritual inspiration of every human and superhuman intelligence that has lived, now exists, or may yet live on every inhabited world which has formed, now forms, or may yet form a part of the vast galaxy of your administrative domain. Your earth life, in the likeness of the mortal flesh, shall not be so lived as to constitute an example for the mortals on Urantia in the days of your earthly soldiering, nor for any subsequent generation of human beings on Urantia or any other world. Rather, shall your life in the flesh on Urantia be the inspiration for all lives upon all Nebadon worlds throughout all generations in the ages to come.
Think of it as this way. What we saw in the life of Christ, what we read in the life of Christ, everything that we gain from the life of Christ is the inspiration for every type of being and every planet in our local universe, all 10 million of them. Okay, so think of it this way. When you read this book, when you read the chapters in this book, when you read these paragraphs, this is for every type of being that has lived or ever will live in our local universe. So do you think you're alone reading this? No, not at all. You know, think of the billions and billions and billions of beings that's going to digest this and make this part of their life. We're not trying to copy Jesus's life. That's not what we're saying here. We want to take the principles in which Jesus lived and incorporate it in our own lives, right? That's what it's about. Not trying to copy his life, not even in the least. Okay, let's go on. Next, let me go back over here. I forgot to see. Pam, I believe you're up.
Okay. Your great mission to be realized and experienced in the mortal incarnation is embraced in your decision to live a life wholeheartedly motivated to do the will of your Paradise Father, thus to reveal God, your Father, in the flesh and especially in the creatures of the flesh. At the same time, you will also interpret with new enhancement our Father to the supermortal beings of all Nebadon. Equally, with this ministry of new revelation and augmented interpretation of the Paradise Father to the human and the superhuman type of mind, you will also so function as to make a new revelation of man to God. Exhibit in your one short life in the flesh as it has never as it has never before been seen in all Nebadon, the transcendent possibilities attainable by a God-knowing human during the short career of mortal existence, and make a new and illuminating interpretation of man and the vicissitudes of his planetary life into all superhuman intelligences of all Nebadon and for all time. You are to go down to Urantia in the likeness of mortal flesh, and living as a man in your day and generation, you will so function as to show your entire universe the ideal of perfected technique in the supreme engagement of the affairs of your vast creation, the achievement of God seeking man and finding him, and the phenomenon of man seeking God and finding him, and doing all of this to mutual satisfaction, and doing it during one short lifetime in the flesh.
Okay. So this is his mission as a human being while he's here, right? And it's interesting because one of the things they bring out here is it's one short life in the career, but it also gives us a new revelation of Jesus. Do y'all understand that? So what is so important about this book? It's everything. It's the revelation of Jesus, a new revelation of Jesus, so that we can get the mission of Jesus right and stop beating around the bush from what's in the Old Testament and the New Testament, right? This is, if you would, this is like coming straight from deity. Okay, that's the difference. I don't call this book at all scriptures, do I? You never hear me say that, because it's not scriptures. Scriptures are those things which were written down by men and groups of men to try to be inspired. Okay, that is not what this is. This is not scriptures. This is truth. This is truth given to us so that we truly understand the mission of God, the mission of Christ. Okay, and Jesus did this in one career to show superhuman types of minds, which would be what? All those created sons that he did other than mortal. It also shows us as mortals how we should live. Okay, so it works on both sides. It's interesting too that because of Jesus's 6 previous bestowals, he has shown to other types of beings how they should live as those types of beings. But then he came to earth and he showed us as the lowest type of being how to live and to do God's will in our life every single day. Okay, and it's interesting, the last sentence here, it says the achievement of God seeking man and finding him. This is us seeking God, right? And the phenomena of man seeking God and finding him and doing all of this to mutual satisfaction and doing it during one short lifetime in the flesh. What do we have? One lifetime in the flesh. So all the other lifetimes after this is yet to come. Okay, and that's why they say in this book, this is the vestibule to your real life, right? So this is just the start. Oh my goodness, I'm out of time already. I just looked down. Well, y'all, I love you guys. I've had a good time. I always do, you know. I feel like every time we meet, my soul just bathed in the Holy Spirit. That's the only thing I can think of, you know. It really is.
Absolutely.
Everything's just wonderful, you know. So let's say a little prayer and we'll say good day to the day, since it's day, it's not night. I'm always doing this at nighttime. But let's have a little prayer and we'll quit for tonight. Gary, would you like to close us in prayer this morning?
I'll give it a shot.
Okay.
Okay. Don't hold me responsible.
I love you, Gary. It doesn't matter what you say, you say it from the heart. So,
Dear Jesus, David, let us keep in mind that your bestowal on earth was not just for us, but for all of your universe, making us realize that people from other places and planets are pretty much on the same page as we are, so we don't have to battle each other and come into union and understanding and glory for you and not for each other, so that we can harmonize for a better understanding of man and man's better understanding of you and your wishes, and motivate us onto higher and better terms with you. Amen.
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 That was
And
good.
thank you for all. That was good. Yeah. Thanks all of y'all who join us on Facebook, YouTube, and Vimeo, and we will come see us again next time for sure. Stop the video. Great.